Hello, and thank you for joining us for today's session on OKRs and how they can be configured through the use of Clarity custom investment types. Organisations are increasingly searching for ways to ensure that approved initiatives are effectively aligned to strategic priorities. As a result, we're now seeing a significant shift towards the use of OKRs or objectives and key results. OKRs are used to leverage the measurement for value and can help organisations put useful metrics in place to track their project activities. For a more in depth understanding of this framework, check out John Doerr's Measure What Matters: How Google, Bono, and the Gates Foundation Rock the World with OKRs. It provides some really useful information on how to make sure organisations are focusing on the right strategies, ensuring staff understand the goals they're trying to achieve, as well as measuring and tracking progress and aligning staff. But many companies have objectives in place, but no key results. So, what are key results? Well, they are the metrics which can be measured, and when mapped back to objectives, they provide a valuable tracking and reporting tool for leaders' priorities and insights. In today's session, I'm going to show you how you can use Clarity Custom Investment Types, or CITs, to record your objectives and track your key results. I'm going to start with a high-level overview of how our Clarity configuration will be structured. I'll show you how we have set up value streams, OKRs and measures, and how each measure can be tracked and reported upon on a regular basis. By the end of this session, you'll have a good idea of how you can configure OKRs in your own Clarity instance. We'll then follow up in a subsequent session to show you how to display your OKRs within a Clarity hierarchy. As you can see from this slide, we have created only two new objects. One is a custom investment type, or CIT, which we have called strategic plan. The other is a custom object, which is a sub-object of strategic plan, which we have called measure. Okay, let's get into it. I am going to jump into my Clarity instance. Okay, now that I am in Clarity, I'm first going to navigate to the strategic plan custom investment type, which is in the classic user experience. So I've landed in the new user experience. I'm just going to click on the link to go back to classic. You'll need to be a system administrator to complete these steps, and then you can go to administration and over to objects. So I want to show you the strategic plan object that I have created. So in here, you will notice I've given it all the usual things, such as a name and an ID, also the API attribute ID, which will allow this to be visible in the new user experience. But one of the key things to remember here is that you have the ability to add an object extension, or which is a drop-down list. There's only one value there, and that is investment extension, which you can select. This will then allow you to transform a regular custom object to a custom investment type. And what that actually does is brings through a whole suite of additional attributes, which are consistent with a lot of the other investments that you have in the system, such as projects and ideas. So this particular one has been created with the investment extension. I've then created some custom attributes as well. In particular, I would like to draw your attention to one I've created called fiscal years. So this is really useful when working with OKRs because you may have some OKRs that are used for only 1 year, and then you might wish to complete those and start with a new set of OKRs. Others you may wish to track across multiple years. So I do have a fiscal years attribute which attaches to a fiscal years lookup, which just contains some values with the years listed. So that is one of the first attributes that I've created. I also have an attribute called strategic status. Just go down and find that one. And there it is. So again, this one attaches to a lookup, and this lookup contains the values at risk, off track, and on track. So this will help with tracking of the progress of the initiatives. And then I also have an attribute called strategic tier. This one attaches to a lookup, which has values such as metric, objective, OGSM, and strategy. I'll take you through how these are all going to be used once we get into actually creating some instances. So that is my first object I've created. My second one is a sub-object of the strategic plan object, and this one is called measure. I go into my measure object, usual configuration with a name, an ID, an attribute ID. But what I've done here is I have selected the strategic plan object, which is the custom investment type we've just created, and I have set that as the master object for our new measure object. In this particular object, because I haven't created it as an investment extension or custom investment type, there aren't all the attributes that you would see come through. It's more like a usual object that you would see that's been available within the system for a very long time. What I have got on here, though, are a couple of attributes just to help me out with the way that I want to manage my OKRs. So I do have a comments field, which is just a free text field. I have a date field, and I also have a status field. The status field links to the strategic status lookup, and again, I can list my measures as at risk, off track, or on track. So the next area I would like to take you through are the blueprints that I have created for this new strategic plan object. So back in the new user experience, I have gone to the administration link and I'm going to click on blueprints. From there, I just filtered on type and searched for my strategic plan. You can see that there is the default standard blueprint that has been created for the strategic plan object. I've actually just checked the box beside that and used the copy function to create 3 other versions of the strategic plan blueprint. The first one I would like to show you is the objective. So within here, I have created a few fields, so name, investment ID, strategic tier, status, fiscal year. The majority of the work you'll see we're going to do just from the list view, but you can actually go into these blueprints and update some of the fields if you like. The next one is strategy. Again, I've just added some fields to the page. And then we also have a metric blueprint. What I have done with the metric blueprint is these are actually the measures. So you will find because the measure object is a sub-object of the strategic plan object, the measure object is available as a module when you're within the strategic plan. So I just went into edit mode on my blueprint and just dragged that particular module over, and you'll now see that I will have measures available to add to my blueprint when I'm in my metric blueprint. Okay, now I'm going to show you how I navigate to the actual investments themselves. So over on the left-hand side menu, go to investments, search for the object you created, so the custom investment type. Go into strategic plan. And the first thing I would like to show you is I have created a couple of templates. And the key here is that these templates have been attached to the correct blueprint. So I have a template for objective, strategy, and metric. And you can see over here, my blueprints align to those templates. So that'll just help when you're setting up actual instances within your strategy to make sure that you've got the right type of fields available and the right modules. Now I'm just going to flick that back to template no, and I'm going to show you a couple of things. So I have some sample data here, and I'm going to take you through how to set up something that looks like this. So in this sample here, I have a value stream called strategic plan. I have an objective, I have a strategy, and I have a number of metrics. So I'm going to take you through how you would set up some of this data. So in this instance, when I want to set up my new value stream at the highest level here, you can see it doesn't have a parent because it is the highest level. But then what you'll do is as you start to build out the data, you will make sure that your objectives map up to your OGSM or objectives, goals, strategies, and measures. You'll make sure that your strategy maps up to your objective and that your metrics map up to your strategy. So the first thing I'm going to do is create a new strategic tier, OGSM. You may have other values that you'd like to use for your strategic tiers, but this is something that we have found works well. So I'm going to call this one profit strategy. Because it is the highest level, it doesn't need to be attached to the blueprint. It's more just for sorting purposes. And that's going to become my highest level of my value stream. So now what I want to do is I am going to use the new from template feature to create the next record. And this one is going to be an objective. You can see the objectives I've created are here. You'll also notice I've used in the naming convention some numeric values. It's not absolutely necessary, but I believe you'll find it helpful when sorting your data later on down the track, particularly when you get a lot of values entered here. So I'm going to enter my fiscal year being 2023 and create. So I now have my new objective. I'm actually going to jump back out to the list view. This is the one here. And I want to assign a parent to this objective. So I want to assign it to my profit strategy. So just make sure you have the parent column visible, which you can bring in via the column panel. And you can just start typing your text. And you can see there's the profit strategy that I've just created. So I now have an objective created. Because I use the template, it's attached to the correct objective blueprint. And I now have it attached to my parent being profit strategy. Okay, from here, under my objectives, I'm going to create a number of key results. So again, new from template, I'm going to create one. I need a strategy. This one's going to be increase revenue. Again, I can put 2023. And I can also list my parent. So I am going to search for my to dot make the company profitable and create. As you can see now, so I have my objective, I have my strategy, and I can now go ahead and create some metrics that I want to attach. So let's say, for example, for increased revenue, again, new from template, select metric this time. I'm going to give it a name with the same naming convention with the numeric prefix. I can select my fiscal year. My parent being the 2.1 increase revenue, so I can just search for that and create. And what you'll notice here now is the metrics have our measure tab up the top. Because we added that module over when we were in our blueprints, we now have the ability to add measures. So let's say for this one, we could create a new measure. And let's call it, this will be about our monthly recurring revenue. You can also put auto numbering in place for any of these IDs in the system. We'll give it a date. Let's say we're on track, and our comment, we might just say we're on track because our monthly recurring revenue has already increased by 7%. What you can also do is when you jump back out to your main list view, that particular metric, if you click on it and go to the details panel, you can also easily go in and add and update your measures from the details pane. And the intention here is that over time throughout the year, as you look at these objectives and look at those key results, you can measure your progress. So in this example, we're saying, okay, we're doing really well because our revenue has increased by 7%. You may have another initiative that you might say is at risk because it hasn't performed in the same way. Again, I'm just coming back to the naming conventions. So as you can see, it's easy to quickly sort my OKRs by name, but not only that, I can also use my strategic tier to group my data. So I can pull that up there, and then you can have a look at easily at what all your metrics are, what your objectives are, and so on. So that's it as far as your custom investment type configuration to set up your objectives and key results. If you'd like to find out more or you think you might need some help getting your OKRs set up, visit regoconsulting.com and contact us for more information. Don't forget to check out part 2 of this series where I'll show you how to take your OKR data and display it in a really visually pleasing format using Clarity hierarchies.